All right, so I'm getting to sit down with Stephen Buonocore from Stronghold Games. You are Stronghold Games, really.
Stronghold Games. There's no other person in Stronghold. It is me.
Awesome. Well, they just finished up a killer Kickstarter for Space Cadets, the new expansion for it.
No, new base game.
A whole new base game. That's right.
Third game in the Space Cadets line. We started out with Space Cadets. Now this has been 3 years ago, 2 years ago. 3 years ago, the original Space Cadets by Jeff Engelstein and the whole family, and his son and his daughter. Phenomenal design team, and the kids really do the work with him, so it's not just Jeff. A year after that, we came out with Space Cadets Duel.
One of my favorite party games.
It's ridiculous, right? It's a team versus team, real-time, dice rolling, starship combat. So you can't put those words in the same sentence for any other game.
Right.
It is just insanity. We did expansions last year for both of those games. Resistance is mostly futile for the original Space Cadets, and Die Fighter for Dice Duel, which takes Dice Duel now from 4 to 8 players to 2 to 10 players.
Crazy.
So it is great. More ships, more cards, more dice, more great stuff. Now, I've always wanted. I'm an old school American style gamer, right? American trash. I don't like it either. I call it American style, American thrash. Some people are calling it. I like that dice chucking and stuff. So these designers that were not the Engelsteins proposed an idea for a cooperative game. So it's got modern mechanics to it. It's a cooperative game. It is quite streamlined, but it is dice based because you do attack hordes and hordes of aliens that are showing up. You can kind of almost think of it like Descent meets Pandemic, right? You have to cooperate. The game system.
Great word.
Yeah, I mean, well, I like to sell as much as either one of those games. You're right. But in Pandemic, where you're going to get overrun by the diseases if you don't constantly monitor them and take care of them, and you all work together tactically to do and deal with every problem on the board. You have that issue here with all of the little green men. And the Descent version, of course, is that this is essentially a dungeon delve, where you're on a spacecraft, you're on UFOs and alien space stations and things like that, and you are going there, exploring it. Every time you're on your turn, you must explore a tile, more aliens show up, equipment's going to show up, things are going to happen, you're going on missions, there's 20 missions in the game. But to me, of course, the coolest part of all of this game, and the reason that we put it on Kickstarter, and that's everyone's saying, Buonocore, you don't do Kickstarters, why are you doing a Kickstarter? You have been so negative about them, which I really haven't been. I just always said professional publishers don't need to be there, because we should be putting our own capital behind things, our own marketing efforts. That's for people who are startups, who need the money. I don't normally need the money, but I have done $20 to $60 games for the entire thing. That's essentially the range of games. Down on the small side, up into the real gamery side. One $70 game I did, crude with some plastics in there. Now, I'm going way outside the market. I'm going into Fantasy Flight territory here, right? 100 plastic miniatures. There's a huge upfront cost in doing a game like that. All those plastic molds have to be made. Tremendous amount of art, all kinds of stuff. So, is there a market for Stronghold Games at the $100 price point, the way that Fantasy Flight has plenty of them? Obviously, there's a market there in general, and for them, of course. Is it there for me? Well, this proves out the model. The next time I do a game of this scale, I don't have to use Kickstarter. I know the market's there for me. People will look at me as like, oh, Stephen, Stronghold Games can do this kind of game, and it's a brilliant game, and I think it's all been proven out. Really happy with the success of the Kickstarter.
Because the fact is that, I mean, you didn't just fund. You went 100,000 overfunding easily.
106.
Yeah, but who's counting? No, it looks tremendous. This was obviously your first Kickstarter. Was it a scary proposition, or?
I went in
because your game's good.
Yeah,
right. I mean, that's not a question.
Right.
But this is, as you say, testing the waters, making sure that the market's there.
Right.
I mean, at any point were you thinking, this might not work? Not a chance, because you guys funded.
We funded in 6 hours.
Yeah.
We funded in 6 hours. Did I ever think for a second we would not fund? No. I mean, I knew that it would have to fund. But I made the goal $40,000 because that is essentially the sunk cost of the game.
Sure.
The stuff that you have to put up in front to do a game of this magnitude is around that. So if I would have funded to exactly $40,001, well, then it would be kind of scary, because then I didn't sell that many games here. I got this cost, but I still got to print the game, and I got to sell that game. No, but of course we funded to 146,000 and change, so we were able to really blow it out. In the beginning, it started out as 52 miniatures, but as the stretch goals were hit, we get more and more. And the goal in my head was I wanted, for a $100 game, I wanted 100 miniatures in that game. That was my goal.
There's a beautiful symmetry to that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and maybe that's an OCD thing, but I just wanted to say that. You know, the Kickstarter price was $99. You're gonna get 100 miniatures in that game. You're going to get 20 scenarios. You're going to get really cool-looking plastic cubes to track everything versus the wooden cubes you normally find in the Euro games. I really wanted to spacey this out, you know, really put the chrome on this thing. And in the end, it just came out great.
Well, that's super cool. I mean, you guys are responsible for some of my favorite games in general. I mean, I love Space Cadets Dice Duel. It's like, I could turn the camera off and tell you about the parties where we've played that and had a great time. It's possible. Maybe. Yeah. But I mean, well, we can. But you know, we played the 30th anniversary edition of Survive, which is just like it's such a tremendous piece of like board game history in a sense, and you guys, the beautiful version of it, just love it. The guy who got me into board games, actually, we got him an edition of it for you know, the 30th anniversary edition, and he remembered his original version with the, you know, the black and white tiles and all. That's great.
1mm cardboard.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys are just was it last year put out Among the Stars? And
last year.
Another one of my immediate favorites. You know, gorgeous game. You guys have a Kickstarter for that going, or is that independent of you folks?
Artipia, very small company out of Europe. They kickstart their games. They need the funding to do their games.
Sure.
They're very successful at this point, so they may or may not stop doing that. But they use Kickstarter to get the game going and stuff like that. But I have a strategic partnership with them.
Sure.
So every game that I want to do with them, I will do with them as soon as they print. So, for instance, they're doing that. I don't even know where it is. I'm assuming it's funded because he's very.
They're overfunded.
Yeah,
they're huge.
They're doing great because I had to watch my own Kickstarter, so I wasn't. Right. So that's called Among the Stars Revival, right? And that's a 2-player version of Among the Stars,
which we're getting,
by the way. That's awesome. A 2-player version of Among the Stars, which is completely compatible with the current version of Among the Stars. So you can take those cards and use them there and play that with 2, or play that with 4 players. It comes with additional rules and some additional components to make a 2-player version really, really cool. So that's why that game is coming out. When they finish and they go to print, with Artipia, we create one game. If you take a look at a box of the current printing of Among the Stars, it has Stronghold Games logo, Artipia Games logo on the front, on the back, our logos, and both barcodes and both stock numbers. So we print one game for us. In fact, we, in a way, share stock, meaning he'll print the whole number. He'll immediately invoice me for X number of units that I immediately want. He takes some. There's some sitting there that are his. I say, hey, I just sold through. He sends me another invoice. I get more of them. So it's a really great. It's a great strategic partnership with a great small company out in Europe who's got some brilliant things going on. I've already committed with Artipia. I did this publicly at Essen that we're going to do everything in the Among the Stars line. That's the commitment. His other games I'm going to do on a one-by-one basis. I didn't do Lap Dance. I don't know that was exactly a family-friendly enough title to do. So obviously I couldn't do that one. That was a controversial title. But he's got a lot of other stuff that is coming down the pipe that I'm very interested in doing as well. So
it's really cool that you guys are bringing. I mean, that's a quality IP. It's proven itself at this point, and it's awesome that you guys are bringing it in. I mean, Gameosity is a huge fan of Among the Stars, and
great.
I mean, we started Gameosity because we just love games, and so I guess to ask an interviewee question, it's like, where'd Stronghold come from? I mean, just a little bit about you, about how it started.
This in 2008 or so. The market was very different. The hobby game market was very different. There was no Kickstarter. It was much smaller. And I realized that, I could bring my business acumen into another arena. I've been in IT on Wall Street for my entire career.
Me too.
Oh, how about that? I didn't know that. So there's a certain amount, you know, I have an MBA, so I mean, I have a certain amount of business smarts, and I figured, you know what? I have a passion, a ridiculous passion for this silly hobby that we have, where we want to get around a table and we want to play games and have a great time. I have a passion for this. I figured, you know what? Why don't I try to make this into a business? So I got together with somebody who had some specific industry experience, and we started Stronghold Games in 2009 after the craziness of 2008 and the crash of the deep recession we went into.
We were depressed in that recession.
Yes, we were all depressed in that recession. So after that came back, you know, I got together. We said, this is a good time. We can start this thing now. We did, and we started it such that we would make our name. There's no Kickstarter, remember. There's no way to no way to really generate a publicity for something, even if it's cool.
In the industry.
You can't. So we started out, we went out and we found reprints of great games. So you have great games by great designers. Who are these guys, Stronghold? Well, I want that game. Let me take a shot. So our first game was Code 777, 25th anniversary edition. We brought out great components in that. Survive, of course. Huge. Survive is just my biggest seller still to this day, evergreen title. Confusion, which was actually a reprint, but nobody in this country really knew about it. Excuse me, because it only came out in Germany 20 years ago. We brought that back. Outpost was another game we brought back. We found, I'm an expert at finding old designers. Is really what it comes down to. So, you know, we brought these games back, but then of course at some point, the well of games that need to be reprinted just dries up.
Sure.
There's not some games are not reprinted because they don't need to be. They're just not that good. There's not demand, certainly. So at that point, we went out and started looking for great new games. Core Worlds was our first great new game. And Core Worlds, our version of deck building, has done very well. I'm now in my third expansion for that. Core Worlds Galactic Orders came out a year later, and a year and a half, 2 years after that, we got Core Worlds Revolution out. Great game line for me. Our take on deck building, I call it deck building 2.0, because it takes the Dominion mechanic, but makes it part of the game, not the entire game.
Sure.
And this third part of the way that the business has developed is that we have created these strategic partnerships or just general partnerships. We've gone out and found great games in Europe that they did not have distribution in the US, or for that matter, Australia or Asia. I distribute my games worldwide. Europe, every continent can get my games if there's a store there and a distributor in the country. So we then made great partnerships with White Goblin Games, with Pegasus Spiele, with Artipia Games, as I just mentioned, Eggert Spiele, and I continue to find, Spielworks. We just created a partnership with Spielworks. We're doing with Spielworks La Granja, for instance. Just announced with Portal Games. We're doing Stronghold 2nd Edition. The branding opportunities, obviously, of that. I've been wanting to do that game forever. He's been doing his own distribution now, but he said, because he likes me so much, he would do this game with me. So that's been a big part. Getting those partnerships, making those connections when you're in Essen has been a really big, important thing to do, and the business model is proven out. We're doing very well.
Well, just awesome. I mean, I'm certainly glad to hear it, because you guys make amazing games, and you bring fantastic games. One of the things that's so wonderful about this industry as we meet people is that really I haven't met too many people who are in the business for the business. Most people have a passion for the games, and then they bring, as you say, that business acumen, that ability to interface with it as a company. So just to close, what are you playing? What are the games that you would play if you had all the free time in the world?
If I had all the free time in the world, it would be like American style games. And I've said on a number of podcasts, my favorite game is War of the Ring.
Okay.
Dripping with theme, tense gameplay. Always comes down to it comes down to that final turn. Either Frodo dunks the ring, or the shadow player takes over the 10th point of strongholds on the board. So
keeps coming back to Stronghold.
Back to Stronghold. All roads lead back to Stronghold. So those style games, I mean, those big American style dice festy kind of games. I love Dice Duel, that kind of stuff. So these are the kind of games I normally play. I don't normally play heavy Euros, certainly. I mean, I've obviously played all my games to make sure they're great games. But Kanban, which is just sets a new standard for the heavy Euro.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
Kanban scares the hell out of me.
Oh man,
Like-
it's big, man. Oh, it is absolutely big. But we've, for that, we've actually, gone the extra mile to put a few great player aid type things out there and instructional things. We had instructional video on the game. We had the designer put up a geek list to take you through the steps of the game.
So smart.
There's been some other game asset laid out things to help out players get into that game. But no, yeah, it's not for the light, not for the faint of heart. When you want to step up, if you're a Euro player, you want to put your big boy pants on.
Right.
You Kanban is definitely a place to strive for, because it is meaty. So.
But it really also shows the range, because you guys are all over the spectrum, and that's awesome.
And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted every gamer to basically say, well, what's Stronghold doing in that space? And I haven't been in heavy Euros, really. I had CO2, which is a very big game. It's my only one. But last year with both Panamax and Kanban, and they were fantastic. I was sold out of both of those games before they street dated, before they were in retail. Distributors wanted twice as many copies as I can provide them on my first print run. So that's a huge problem.
Yeah, what more do you want?
But it's a good problem to have. So we immediately went back and reprinted them, and they're now back in stores.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking a couple minutes. It's absolutely a pleasure. So, that was awesome.